Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. The new patch notes are out and the patch will be released on tomorrow, Tuesday. So in this video I'm going to analyze all the nerfs and the buffs and speculate on the future meta. So without further ado, let's get down to business. And the first nerf that has been announced is the Ironbound Brute. From 7 mana to 8 mana. This is one of the few nerfs that I predicted correctly. I actually got quite a few of them incorrectly. We'll get into that in a moment. But Ironbound Brute, this was one of the nerfs that I did predict. Playable a bit earlier than intended on average, pushing it back a turn should soften the extreme turns. And this is the only Demon Hunter nerf. And that was a surprise to me, because I totally expected them to both nerf the Ironbound Brute and nerf Demon Hunter's card draw. But they left card draw intact, so I don't know. This Ironbound Brute nerf seems that Demon Hunter cut off really light, and Demon Hunter will still be a contender. There's this rework of Mindrender Illusia. Okay, I expected Illusia to be reworked, but the way they reworked it completely surprised me. The new effect is replace your hand with a copy of your opponent's until end of turn, and the rationale doesn't fit the nerf at all. With the refinement of Shadow Priest, Illusia has been overperforming. Instead of being used as a late game disruption tool, Shadow Priest have used Illusia as an early game play. Okay, yeah. Had I expected them to remove that effect so that they effectively remove Illusia from Shadow Priest, which they did. But this is supposed to still keep her in a similar space with her effect, but it doesn't at all. It's a completely different card now. It doesn't do anything that it used to do. It's not a disruption tool at all. So I tried hard to come up with ways that they will keep Illusia as a late game disruption tool without keeping it as a Shadow Priest tool. But instead they made it like a... what is it even? It's an additional resource generator for a Control Priest, so if game goes really late and you're a little low on resources and you play Illusion, you play your opponent's threats instead. I'm not sure if that's powerful enough to run play anywhere. Maybe in some kind of really slow meta where your hand is not constantly full from random cards, but yeah, this is not a disruption tool at all anymore. It's a completely different card now. And it is out of Shadow Priest. Then for Shaman nerfs we have Perpetual Flame from costing 1 to costing 2, which is what I expected. Although I thought that this specific nerf would lack creativity, and I was wondering, okay, why would you even do this? Is it really worth it? But anyway, Blizzard went ahead and did it. Fine, a minor change to the way Quest Shaman clears boards. The Quest Shaman was nerfed twice, like I expected, but the other nerf was not like I expected. I expected them to touch the early turns that Quest Shaman sometimes gets, which result in total non-games, but they didn't. Instead, they slowed down the combo a little bit. You now have to play 3 cards with Overload for the final stage to get Stormwind September. Slowing down the speed at which Questline Shamans can get their final reward should open up more room for counterplay, particularly from slower strategies. So they don't touch the actual non-games in Quest Shaman decks, they only touch the games where they pull off their combo and then they pull off the combo now a little bit later. Okay, Quest Shaman should still be perfectly playable. After this you can still get those early turns, get all of your mana crystals back and just snowball the game. Then for Warlock, they actually went with the quest. Okay, I expected the quest to be banned in Wild, like did everybody else in this world who plays Hearthstone, so yeah, that one happened, but they also nerfed the quest for Standard. So the first part used to be take 6 damage, now it's take 8 damage, and the second part used to be take 7, and now it's take 8. So overall you need to take 3 more damage, and it's split over 2 of the phases of the quest line, which means that pulling off the OTK got a lot harder, and this is even going to nerf the handlock style a little bit, because you really wanted to get at least one stage of the quest complete, so that you get that lifesteal hit, and then that changes your health during your turn, and that also cheapens your Flesh Giants, so now you don't get that effect as easily. But once again, the handlock style quest deck is taking less damage than the OTK style. So the OTK style might now be too slow to play, but handlock should remain playable, even though there is a second Warlock nerf, and that's a nerf to Ruined Mithril Rod. Old costs 3, new costs 4, okay? Mithril Rod has not always been used in the handlock decks, it has gained prevalence recently. But handlock dropping the Mithril Rod, that's fine, handlock can survive that. Whereas the OTK variant of the questline Warlock is going to struggle more with the more expensive Mithril Rod. Those were all the nerfs, and then as for the buffs. Hunter buffs. Leatherworking Kit from 2 to 1. After 3 friendly beasts die, draw a beast and give it +1/+1, lose 1 durability. This card is probably still nonsense, I don't see how this would see play. Then another buff to Selective Breeder from a 2 mana 1/1 to a 2 mana 1/3. Okay, there was some meme strategies using Selective Breeder, and Selective Breeder is a little bit better now in those meme decks, but it doesn't make much of a difference. Then the mage buffs. I really expected them to hit some minions that would improve the fire mage, that would improve the hero power mage, but instead they improved the spell, Wildfire, increased the damage of a hero power by 1 and now it only costs 1. And I really wonder if this could now be played in a questline mage, because I used to play no minion mage with Wildfire back in the day. Now that Wildfire is cheaper, that becomes a little bit more attractive. Ping Mage obviously also becomes a little bit more attractive thanks to the Wildfire buff, and also thanks to the Mordrash Fire Eye buff, from 10 mana 10 to 8 mana 8/8. Taking into account that games do end by turn 8 nowadays, so you have to be able to play this on 8 instead of 10 if you want to play this card. And these are all the buffs Mage is getting. I really expected them to hit multiple Mage archetypes, but they're only trying to get Ping Mage to be some kind of playable deck. But we'll see, it is so far behind that it's still hard to see how this can really help. I think they really needed to buff the Apprentice to make that more usable, that you can get that hero power effect spread all over the place. But we'll see, it's going to be worth a try, maybe. As for the warrior buffs, I really expected them to buff warrior's card draw, because I see that as the main problem for warrior, but they went all out on pirates instead. Stormwind Freebooter from a 3 mana 3/3 to a 3 mana 3/4. I do wonder these effects in Wild, because in Wild Pirate Warrior is already a playable deck, now they're just buffing a ton of pirates, so that will be even better. And will this still make Pirate Warrior playable, or Questline Warrior playable in Standard? I'm not so sure. But yeah, 3 mana 3/4, that's one sweet minion right now. And all of these buff pirates are actually looking pretty good. Stonewall Anchorman, this does buff the card draw as well, but I was already happy with this as a card draw tool. I was hoping the other card draw tools would be better. But now warrior, all kinds of warriors are probably going to run Anchorman for their card draw. 5 mana 4/6 rush, frenzy draw card. In slower decks you resurrect this with Sourfang. It's just quite a bit better right now. And then Biob is the craziest buff, because I looked at this card before the buffs were announced and I thought there's no way they can buff this. This just cannot be improved. There's no, for a 1 mana card, there's not enough room to operate in. But apparently there is. It's now 1 mana 2/2 pirate with a battle cry to make the next weapon you play cost 1 less. So Bloodsail deck just got really, really strong. But Warrior also is a lot behind other classes, so I'm not sure if these are going to be good enough. And if these changes are good enough, they're not really giving anything for any sort of other Warrior deck except for those Pirates and Questline. Nothing for Rush Warriors, nothing for Control Warriors. Overall, I was hoping that they would touch more archetypes with some really targeted good changes, but they're looking at it pretty narrowly, it seems. So what will be the overall effects of these nerfs and buffs? First of all, a lot of these decks that are okay at defending against aggro and can sometimes challenge the OTK decks, but they're just a tiny bit too slow, they're going to benefit a lot. We're talking about Libram Paladin, Elemental Shaman, Quest Rogue. They now have just a tiny bit more time to beat those quest decks and succeed. Obviously not all combo decks were nerfed, so Demon Hunter got hit very little. Demon Hunter combo decks should still be fine, and Carrot Rogue was not touched at all. But yeah, not exactly the changes I expected. Some of the changes like Illusia seem to be completely opposite of what they're writing about the change, and what they actually did they don't match at all. But that's what we've got, and it's going to be a new meta. Maybe a little bit more mid-rangey meta, which was my overall prediction already in advance. But we'll start to find out tomorrow and in the next few days after that. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Twitch channel.